Really.
So I've started recording. I'm just going to run through the questions that we have. The main...
Shall I introduce myself first?
Yeah, we'll get to that part. So the main thing that this is a biography and documentary of the late Abraham Kabasa. The title of the documentary is called The Black Zandla, Dressed in White. Zandla referring to the Zimbabwe National Liberation Army.
Yes.
Dressed in white, referring to the fact
to the nurse.
He was actually employed by the Rhodesian Ministry of Health, but he was actually an operative of the Zandla.
He was
forces.
the opposition of what he was, a contradict of what he was supposed to be.
Exactly. And then I've got a few questions for you. I know you're the firstborn of the national hero, the first national hero from Mtoko district, and it's such an honor to be able to meet and discuss with you. The questions that I have is, when and how did you know that your father was part of the liberation struggle? And then we're also going to discuss how and what role did he play in the liberation struggle of Zimbabwe. And did you get victimized as a child and also as a Zimbabwean related, or then Rhodesian related to the late Abraham Kabasa? And were you persecuted as a result? And we're also going to discuss about your father's participation in the struggle and how it affected your family life as a daughter, how it affected his marriage, and how it affected his other siblings as well. And I'm also of the understanding that Peace Kabasa also went to war and sadly did not return. May his soul rest in peace. And we also want to discuss the impact of your father's role in the liberation struggle that it had on your life. Because my understanding is you also attempted to join the liberation struggle as a fighter. Was that as a result of your father or a result of what was happening in Rhodesia? And then, so that's also a discussion on your role as as a freedom fighter, or one wanting to become a freedom fighter. And then the other aspect that I also want us to discuss, we often hear that Rhodesia was better than Zimbabwe. Rhodesia was greater than Zimbabwe. So was it great for all citizens, or it was great for white people? If it was so great, why would people take up arms? Why would people choose to lose their lives if it was that great? So a lot of people do not really know what Rhodesia was like, except for what we were told. So we want to take this opportunity to also just delve in, dig back into the past and understand why and what Zimbabwe was like then. So this is a discussion. The thing is, I also have a problem with the history that as Africans we don't do our own history.
We don't research. We don't research much.
So I think this is just the beginning of Zimbabweans actually, documenting our history. When and how did you know that your father was part of the liberation struggle?
Early in the 70s, when the war was really at the high peak. That was, I was just doing Form 2. I was in St. John's Secondary School, just near Harare there in Bora.
Form 2, what age is that?
I was about 16, 17. Right, so that's when we were impacted a lot by the war. So I was in a boarding school, so a lot of us had peer pressure from other people from different backgrounds, and I was coming from Mtoko, so it meant we had to mix with those people coming from Harare and other part of the country. So we had to discuss about the war because it was at its peak, and that's when we felt compelled to be part of it.
Okay, but when did you know your father was actually in support of the liberation struggle was actively engaged, actively involved as a participant, though not carrying arms, but in terms of his medical support? When did you know?
When I was doing Form 4 around 1978, 79, that's when I realized that my father was partially in the war, because he was saving the freedom fighters at the same time whilst he's working in the Ministry of Health. So we could see them coming at home at night and doing some rallies where we were being educated about the war. And that's when I started seeing my father being very active around the 70s, 75, 76, 77, when my brother left for the liberation struggle as well.
A few miles from the border, where white Rhodesia meets black Africa, farmers' wives prepare to defend themselves from attack by black nationalist guerrillas who are trying to bring down the regime of Prime Minister Ian Smith.
Barry Borden was a volunteer at 16, on active service while still officially underage. Why is he fighting this war?
Well, I feel it's to do something for my country and keep it white, you know, fight the terrorism so we can have a decent country. I've lived here all my life. Well, this is what I'm fighting for. I'm not going to let somebody take it away from me.
Tonight, 4 black schoolboys are spending their 19th night in prison without a charge.
In case Mr. Ethan Company may feel this bunch is just a horde of extremists, I'll give him a practical example. There is a certain degree of tolerance in a chained, tame animal. You may pester it for the first time, and you can do that for as many times as you like. But a time will come when that big chain will snap and the big animal will remove its tail from its hind legs. Then it will start, barking. Then from barking, it will bite.
Sir Robert Treadgold was Chief Justice of Rhodesia until he resigned in 1960. His family came here around 1890 as part of the pioneer column that set out to claim the heart of Africa for Britain. Today, an outspoken critic of the Smith government, Sir Robert lives near the place where he was born in 1899.
How would you describe the situation in this country today?
We have here a ratio of more than 20 Africans to one white person. And it's quite absurd that that small section at the top are going to continue indefinitely to supply all the advanced skills in the country. And there's going to be great African advancement. You can see it now, even although it's not encouraged, and at least not in the white areas, but it's coming.
Pano tatumwa nemutungamiriri wenyika, president wedu, wari first secretary we Zanu PF, commander in chief wemauto eZimbabwe, kuti tisvitse kumhuri kurwadziwa kwataita zuva renhasi, tonzwa kuti baba Kabasa wakatisiya, wakanga ari umwe wedu, hungu imhuri yekwawa Kabasa, asi wanga mhuri yeZanu PF. Asi pano ndingada kuti zvatafambira zvawakabasa, wakatresa, wakatarisa president wedu nedare repamusoro kuti basa rawo rawakaita nderipi, wakaona wakabasa wari munhu wakatanga nestruggle, ari mwana mudiki diki chaizvo, ari nesi kwamutoko uko, zvaityisa kuti uende kuno challenge murungu anga aine mbwa, anga aine pfuti, waiwa nendege, waine ma-armored cars. Munhu wakashinga iyeye ari nesi, akanzwa nezvemusangano muna 64, akajoina musangano chifungai 64 kuti anga aine makore akadini. Ameno panapa wakazvarwa muna before 64, wanga wakutoshanda amanesi, akashanda basa reunesi hwake, achiita basa reZanu PF, achishungurudza nemhuri, nekuti anga asi egazve, ukangonzi Kabasa mese, saka mese mamuri macomrades, vanhu vekwakabasa nehama dzacho nedzekumuka mama akuhlisa muchitizwa nevanhu kuti uyu uri kuchalenja kutitangira mhosva. Hameno nemudzimai wacho zvivindi zvacho haana kumbozviona, haana kuziva zvaanga arusangana nazvo. Ndofunga pawairoorwa, asi unongoshingirira munhu watozvipira kuti ndo zvandiri kuda upenyu hwangu. Wakashanda unesi ihwohwo kusvika Zanu PF iyo yatanga zvehondo kubva kuZambia yaenda kuMozambique. Ndiye anga ari pakati pekuendesa maWar Vets achibatsira kuchizouya hondo iya yanetsa maWar Veterans akurowa hondo waibatsira nekurapa makomrades. Ndizvimwe zvandanzwa hanzi maWar Veterans aenda unoradzikwa pamubhedha asingaziwa mabhunu kuti aya maWar Veterans orapa. Kuzvipira kwakadaro kwakaoma, kunoda kukudzwa zvakanyanya. Saka wachitarisazve president nedare rawo kuti waipa chikafu, waipa information zvakare kumaWar Veterans, asi wari nesi izvozvo wachiba mishonga unoza kubira murungu uchiziva kuti zvinohlisa, achiba mishonga kuendesa kuMozambique kunobatsira makomrades ari mumusangano, achiita zveZanu PF underground kuzosvikira wasungwa akaiswa mutoko prison for 3 years akagara imomo akasungwa kuzosvika tazoona kuzvitonga kuzere. Haana kudududza, wakaramba akamira akati ngatisunge wachimuchichidzira nepaumba pake pakatakwa pane izvozvi munoona mabullets akapinda, hazvina kumuti adzoke mumashure. Wakaita persevere, akaramba ari munhu ari principled, munhu wekuti ane courage. Wakatowanza nekuti muri kutondishungurudza, ndanonokerwa, ndinoda kuti nyika yangu, ndiri mwana wesunungure nyika ino. Kuzosvikira taona kuzvitonga kuzere, watungamiri wese wanga wari kuMozambique newanga wari muno wakaona kuti umwe wedu wakarwa hondo zvakanyanya, ari muJiba, ari zvekare ex-detainee. 2 maposition, washomawo nemaposition mairi, iye anga ine 2, Chiriro wachiJiba achiita futi ex-detainee achigara mujeri. 1980 wakamuti taakuda ma-MP pawanhu wese wakazara kuMashonaland East, ndiye wakawamwa wa1 wakaitwa member of parliament. Wanhu wekwakabasa makaoma.
75 na 76 ndo pandakatanga kuziya murume arero umoyo. Ndakamuziyiswa nemunhu ainzi Richard Katsande parukau necheku All Souls. Varume vaviri ava ndo vairecruita vanhu vaienda kuhondo. Sakondakta webhasi taivapiwa uchienda nawo kunonzi kuRwenya wadarika kwaChikwizu. Kana uri kuRwenya unenge watowa padyo nekudarika kana kupinda mubhodha rekuenda kuMozambique. Ndo varume vakarecruita magandanga mazhinji akabva muno mamutoko achienda kuhondo. Vakabasa vaiti amwe emazuva kana vapiwa matsamba ekutsvaga mushonga, waiupiwa mushonga wokutaurira kuti iwewe ndakupa mushonga uyu kuti unopa makomrades, ukabatwa ukanditengesa tiri kufa tese. Amai Chinomona, amai Muzverenge, Wamatemachani naWakajese, rimwe rezuva randinoti ndikafunga nezvinotaurwa nevamwe vari pano nevamwe vari muno munyika zvinorwadza. Ndakatakura Wakabasa vaine kabhegi katundu ndikavasiya pakakomo kekumapombo vachienda kunotrita magandanga. Vakarara usiku hwese ukoko kumapombo vari musango nemakomrades. Ndikazovatora zuva raiteera racho ndichidzoka nawo kwaMakosa. Ndaizokumbira vamwe vanoti kana Wakabasa vakaita mabasa akawanda sezita ravo vari kuutano, asi zvikuru sei tinomayeuka panguva yehondo. Ndo pavakanyatsokushanda zvakanga zvine mutsindo, zvakanga zvichitifadza. Handrambe ndakataurira mukuru wangu vane matombo namai vatanga kutozvinzwa pano, kana ivo mai vatanga kutozvinzwa. Isu patakabva, patakaenda kuhondo, takaenda tiri 4. Ndandino munin'ina wangu mandizvidza cousin brother akafira mamutombo, asi pakarwiwa hondo iyi arohwa makumba atyoka akarapwa navakabasa.
His background, Comrade Kabasa in 1976 became heavily involved in the struggle after receiving intense political consciousness from the freedom fighters who were operating in Makosa area. And of course, by that time, he was the head of Makosa Rural Hospital, and he was also managing the hospital, which was functioning for both ways. One, to be, of course, providing the medical services, and also ensuring that it will also get to serve as a community, as a communication center. And the Comrade Kabasa Center for Communication supplied drugs, supplied aid kits, also clothes, shoes, and commodities such as a meal to the freedom fighters. And he risked his life job by housing freedom fighters who allowed to hold meeting at his company house. Now, at independence, Comrade Kabasa was elected as the Member of Parliament for Mutoko Amudzi constituency. Comrade Kabasa, and His Excellency described him as a man who was determined to see his country develop, like he's always saying that we would want the spirit of people like Comrade Kabasa to be in the young people of today, Kutinyika Iwakwe Newe Nevayo, ensuring that constantly the Zimbabweans are in charge of their country, their development. That is His Excellency now leaving the National Heroes Eka, and you can tell that the crowds came and they are cheering and they are celebrating the life of the late national hero. That's what was happening at the National Heroes Eka. From myself, Ian Wambe, crew behind the scenes, everyone at the shrine, pleasant viewing.